And one thing that you and I have watched happen over the last 20 years, going back to technology channels for a minute, is the players have changed by far, and the titles of the players have changed quite a bit. So if we went all the way back to the Stone Age that I was talking about, you had the concept of a computer dealer. Well, a dealer back then had one meaning, and it did not limit itself to a storefront, but we had that concept as time moved forward that a dealer was a storefront entity, and they eventually turned to the clone dealer, selling to consumers, and that was about all they did. Whereas we invented the term VAR, value-added reseller, which had a more weighty kind of tone to it, that they weren't just selling products, they were selling answers to questions and complete systems and so on. Somewhere along the line, there was a thing called a VAD, right? A value-added dealer, which was somewhere in between those two. And we migrated our way all the way forward to maybe about 10 years ago or 15 years ago, it became fashionable to call them solution providers. And those people directly interfacing with the end user were putting together potentially more sophisticated solution. And I think too, what happened was at some point, and you could expand on this if you like, those solution providers, hardware seems to have become less and less important to them, making a margin on hardware. So they're making their money on integration services or design services for systems and putting together the entire solution. So what's your take on where that's at today?
I think they're all pretty meaningless. The people who care about what we call these entities between the supplier and the consumer are the suppliers. The customer makes no distinction whether they're buying direct or indirect. They call it a vendor or whoever company that they buy from. I mean, but they don't call them typically resellers, partners, solution providers. They have no real sense of this. If they're buying from ABC Computers on Main Street or Accenture, it's the source of whatever their product is. So it's not, that's why I find it's pretty meaningless in terms of a go-to-market context. The supply side, the manufacturers or the vendors, they have a different need though. They need these labels to be able to categorize the partners, to be able to create some form of homogeny over their programs, so that they can scale them. So they're not going to, they don't want to have one-to-one relationships with all these partners, particularly where some of these, if you think about companies like Microsoft has somewhere around 600,000 partners worldwide. You look at companies like HP and Lenovo and Dell, that they have tens of thousands of partners around the world. They can't just keep, they have to have some way of organizing them. That's why these labels are still important, at least on the vendor side. I, on the other hand, think about this in terms of sales models. How is it that the partner is selling the product? And there's only a few choices. So you have sell to, you have sell through, you have sell with, and you have referrals. And it can have influence as well on the outside, but basically these are the same. There's not another option out there for how you sell. So once you pick one of those sales motions, then you can figure out how to work around them. And I ultimately think that what we advocate at Channelnomics is that the vendors think about their partners in terms of how they sell, not necessarily what they call themselves.